In section 7.6, we're going to talk about overcooling and misapplication, a few different ways that cooling can be used ineffectively or misapplied. So the first is overcooling before. So this is that pre-cooling. If you cool too much and you have cold muscles, you don't have the optimal core temperature, your body's not primed and ready to perform at the maximum level, especially if you're doing this before max effort lifts, jumps, or sprints, any type of explosive movements, you got to have that warm-up period and get those muscles to the optimal range. So in no way are we saying that you should have cooling and lower muscles or that you should not properly warm up. The focus of this course is on getting to the optimal temperature range, and we're mostly focused on the higher end after you've accumulated heat and you get to heat stress. But do not overcool prior. There's benefits and there are ways to create that buffer prior, especially for endurance activities. But if you're doing max effort sprints and jumps, we do not want to be overcooled and compromised. There is evidence on this that prolonged pre-cooling and excessively cooling can impair short duration anaerobic performance. So manage temperature, duration, and understand what the application and the activity is following. Second is cooling that disrupts session flow. We want to use cooling to augment, to improve and enhance the performance of our athletes and get the most out of our session in line with our goals and our programming. We do not want it to become its own objective independent of our goals. So we want it to help. We don't want it to disrupt the flow. We don't want it to create disengagement. We don't want it to be a distraction. We don't want to lose momentum or just completely override the plans that we have. So cooling must be integrated into the programming and into the session that we're doing, not become its own thing. So best practice, you already have transitions, rest intervals, breaks. If you have stations set up, as seamlessly as possible, make cooling part of the recovery, part of the transition, part of the workout, not something that has to take away from that. Third point is masking danger, and this is a perceptual cooling creates the false sense of security or the false sense of belief in the athlete that they are okay, that they're not overheating, that they're not at risk for hyperthermia, especially if those cooling modalities aren't actually lowering core temperature or really dissipating heat. One of these concern areas may be an ice towel to the back of the neck. It may feel cold. They may feel like something is happening, but there may be really, really limited effect. And we do not want unrecognized hyperthermia to manifest and have athletes overexert themselves, especially in high humidity environments, athletes with a lot of gear or athletes who are prone to these type of symptoms. So the best practice would be incorporate monitoring as well, multiple metrics where possible, properly educating athletes, and just not relying solely on perceptual strategies, especially during peak heat exposure. The fourth here that we're going to talk about is chronic post-exercise cooling and blunted application. So repeatedly cold water immersion, especially after strength training, may blunt the benefits that come from it. They may reduce the inflammation too aggressively. There's lots of studies on this and the impact on hypertrophy. Not a topic that we're going to cover closely in this course, but something to consider. So the best practices for post-exercise cooling is when you need it, heat stress, states of hyperthermia, particularly really hot weather, really high intense exercise, or double sessions that require a reset. If you need to be able to get yourself to an optimal core temperature to perform again quickly, that's a lot different than if it's at the end of the day you're trying to get the maximum gains from your session. Quick summary here, potential misuse or misapplication, the effect that it has, and then recommended solutions. So this is a good table to review.